Greetings sailors and welcome back to World of Warships, and also me seeing if I can talk for more than 3 minutes without verbally falling all over myself, and the evidence from the last couple of days points towards probably no, but we're going to give it a go anyway. Now this is a Gneisenau game from Isolate, and you might recognise that name. He is a fanboy that turned up in Poland, kept pestering me for my autograph, and I've taken pity on him and I've decided that I'm going to show one of his games. Yes. Yeah, he's never going to speak to me again. He is, of course, in seriousness, a fellow Warships streamer. I don't think he has a YouTube channel. I think he just streams. And he was actually part of the dream team that Wargaming invited to Poland. So I have met him in person. There's not a lot of other streamers and YouTubers where I can say that. So this is the Gneisenau, he's top tier. The Gneisenau itself, I mean, it's a baby Bismarck in a lot of ways. If you can master the Gneisenau and if you can put up with its, in some ways, lackluster nature, like in everything other than its primary firepower, it's a pretty good ship. But its primary firepower is the bit that's going to let you down a bit, because you've only got 6 guns and you've got that German battleship accuracy, but the rest of it is really quite nice. It's just the main battery that will troll the ever-living snot out of you. It has been called, and I think I've even called it this, the Myogi of tier 7, and it's not an unfair comparison, although this is better than the Myogi, just in the fact that it gets 2 turrets at the front. The Myogi has got 1 turret at the front and 2 at the back, and that makes it quite awkward. So this is a domination mode on Two Brothers, and he is just taking no prisoners. He's decided he is going to try and tank the damage and just get in there, get in people's faces, because this is something the Germans are pretty decent at. They are quite hard to citadel, although from what I understand, that turtleback armor, it kind of works against you as much as it helps you in some ways, because it also means that the damage that you'll take from pens that might be citadel pens on other battleships, or maybe would just pass through other battleships for less damage, you'll take more damage from those. But in this kind of, like, angled as he is towards these enemies right now, he's got a decent chance of tanking a lot of this damage. He is going to be reasonably sure of not taking any particularly nasty hits. Mostly, I think he's trying to provide something for the enemy to shoot at so that his team can try and cap this point, except there's an enemy destroyer, so they can't actually cap right now. So there we go, the Mutsuki is spotted, but that means their own Minikaze is spotted as well. And yeah, he's actually trying to reset the Minikaze. There's also Cleveland in here as well, which is a bit brave, and a tier 8, tier 7 game rather, not a tier 8 game. The Cleveland also sort of hard to citadel, but it's not like it's got anything particularly special otherwise in terms of armor, so I don't think he's going to last particularly long. I shall be slightly surprised. So we know the torps are out from that enemy Mutsuki, so this is a bit risky, but what the hell, he's got some backup behind him, and if you can eliminate the Mutsuki, that means that they can cap. So he's using this window of opportunity to go forwards, and also to maybe do some damage on those things advancing up the one line that are all giving him nice broadsides as well. More torps out, and I'm not actually sure what's spotted those. That's his spotter plane. It will be a spotter plane. And sometimes spotter planes are quite useful because they will... oh no, it'll be the Cleveland spotter. Or fighter. It'll be something. Anyway, even fighters, like if they just happen to fly over the spot on the minimap, or not on the minimap, or the spot on the map where the torpedoes are, you know, they will pick them up in the water, but it's not... like, it just depends on them flying over that particular area. It's not like Hydro where it lights up a radius around you. So the smoke's gone. Mutsuki is rather close, but again on his torpedo reload. We also now know that there is a Typhoon incoming thanks to the new little warning system. You actually get a countdown timer. This Mutsuki, meanwhile, is well within secondary range, and And he actually does land a couple of hits, but it's his main battery that finishes him off. So that's useful. That is the thing that was blocking them from capping out of the way. And the Minikaze is now able to just accumulate those cap points, whilst once again Isolate tanks the damage. He's backing off a little bit at this point because I think he just wants to reposition. And it's quicker to reposition going forwards than it is trying to reverse. If you're trying to reverse in a battleship, I mean, there are times and places to do that, but if you're trying to reverse, you make yourself a much easier target for people throwing HE shells at you, or just throwing any kinds of shells at you. And also, definitely, you make yourself an easier target for torpedoes, but that really wasn't a consideration in this case. So a nice salvo into the Nagato there. It was about 10k. That wasn't too bad. But one of the things that does kind of hurt the Gneisenau, at least in shorter engagements, even if you're doing well with the dispersion, it's just that the lack of firepower means that you will struggle to do as much damage as a Bismarck or a Tirpitz would, or really any of the other tier 7 battleships. They all have more guns, basically. So that's a nice broadside Nagato. And we'll see if these 15 inches can maybe knock a bit more health off. It's all in the hands of RNGs, and in this case, no. That was just like a pair of overpens, so that's not so impressive. There's also a König shooting at him from the south, but that's not such a threat. I kind of liked that when I was playing through it. I'm not there yet. I am, in theory, going to grind out the German battleships, but yeah, some people didn't. I mean, I know Jingles was one of them, and I know other people didn't like it either, just because it's got 12-inch guns. And when you're bottom tier like this, those 12-inch guns, he could fairly confidently ignore that guy with the armour that the Gneisenau has. But when you're top tier, those 12-inch guns are rather nice. So it's one of these ones where it's a bit more circumstantial. Anyway, the Pensacola has managed to run himself aground, and he's in the secondary distance. And I think, just because his secondaries are reaching to over 7 kilometres, he's got AFT, and he might have the secondary module. I don't know. He might also have the flag that gives you a bit of extra secondary distance. And as with a previous not that long ago Warspite game, the fact that we now have a Typhoon in effect means that by the time things get into render distance, with the reduced render distance of a Typhoon, it means his secondaries will also be able to open up. So we might get to see a lot more hits from those secondaries yet. So we know now that Colorado is basically alone. The König is coming up from the south, and there is also a Furataka somewhere much further south, but he's not been seen for a while. He was last seen turning away south, and he's not been spotted since. On the other side, things seem to be not going, like, they're going okay, it looks like, from the mini-map, but it won't turn out that the things over there are going that okay, because they had equal numbers of ships on this side, and well, we can see the enemy team has more ships left alive, so they've probably got an unequal number of ships on that side. Well, there's no probably about it, they will have an unequal number of ships, so chances are they will lose the ships that are around D. They've actually got a Hiei that's coming back over to this side to try and group up with this group of ships over here. And there we go, we actually just lost one of the cruisers that was over there. So the Königsberg, not Königsberg, the König decides to, I don't know, get in close. Not sure why. The armor's pretty good, but this is a very disadvantageous situation for this guy. It would be for any tier 5 battleship, quite frankly. The New York might stand the best chance, and obviously there's the Texas as well, just from having reasonably decent armor, but this is like getting this close against somebody with torpedoes. Okay, if you know the torpedoes are out, then you can take avoiding action, but in this case he's actually, looks like he's turning, oh there we go, he manages to avoid them just about, but that is, he's just getting wrecked by the guns, and the fact that the accuracy is not that good doesn't matter when you're this close. So that Indianapolis, well, charging down any enemy in the Indianapolis or the Pensacola, anything like that. It's not like the Miyoko. Maybe you might get away with it more, but generally speaking, the Tier 7 Americans, hell, the Atlanta's definitely true for that as well. You will lose a lot of health, and it's extremely dicey. So again, the secondary's opening up. That's the Furutaka who's appeared. We have to assume there are torpedoes, and there we go. There's a Citadel. That's the first one. So, yeah, out of range for his own torps. He's not even going to be bother to put those out. And instead, he's going to turn his attention to the Nagato and actually angle against the Nagato. However, you know, the Furutaka's still got 8-inch guns, and he's actually going to shave off a few thousand health from... and there we go, hit with hits like that from Izo. Anyway, there we go. That's the Nagato down. That was, I mean, broadside at this range. For most battleships, that would be reasonably tasty, and the Gneisenau is absolutely no exception. So we've jumped ahead a little bit. They're just hunting down the Furutaka. Meanwhile, on the other side, there is one Koenig left. So they are dead even on points, but the other team has got a ship advantage, and they also, once that Koenig goes down, they will be able to cap B, and at that point things become a little more uneven. So there's the Furutaka. We have to assume he's backing out to put torpedoes in the water. Broadside shot. This should be lovely. No. RNG just says no. Yes. Sometimes in any battleship that can happen, but the Germans especially. It was a not infrequent occurrence when I was playing the Bayern. So yeah, that is the full, you know, battleship RNG in effect right there. That should have been a beautiful, like, less than 5 kilometer shot, broadside, stationary cruiser, and yeah, no. And actually, it's the secondaries that finish the guy off. So there you go. So torps out again. That is a different Koenig this time, and well, obviously it's a different one. He killed the first one. He's come around from the south. Now, it remains to be seen. There's obviously still one that's in B, who's capping at B, or is it C, or is it D? It's D. There we go. I got there in the end. Process of elimination. But the others, they might come around south, they might go for B, and there's actually a bit of a debate happens in the chat at this point. Now, they have the points advantage. And Izo basically proposes that he goes to defend B, and that the other two go to cap C. And actually, like, there's a bit of a, like, they all want to stick with him. But he's saying, you know, no, I can handle it. I'm going to go to B, you guys go to C. And that way we'll definitely secure this. And I kind of think that both points of view are correct. Because if they go and defend B and kill some ships in the process, then that's fine. They are defending the cap point plus getting extra kills, plus they are retaining the strength in numbers that they have right now. But if they split up and Izo is able to successfully defend B, which is a bit of a risk, but he's a top tier battleship, and all that's left of the enemies are there's a couple of cruisers. There's really no torpedo threat left at this point. So, I mean, the RNG could super troll him and it could all go wrong, but at the same time, it could be fine. So it's maybe the riskier course of action, but I think it's still a valid course of action. And, you know, Isolate's a pretty good player. So I think just given the circumstances, given his place in the matchmaking, the fact that he's in a battleship, I think he has justified reason to be fairly confident about going alone into B and sending his allies to C for them to cap. But they just don't want to, and it's not like you can make people do that. So, yeah, they've just stuck with him. And I don't necessarily think they're wrong either. I mean, there is, in this kind of situation, sticking together, having that strength in numbers, that can be really valuable. So that's that low health Königsberg down. We can tell the enemy Hiei went south. The Budioni is there. The Budioni does have torpedoes, but they're very short range. They're like 4 kilometers, so the risk is extremely low. in terms of setting him on fire, maybe, you know, if there was a long enough engagement period, but we're down to less than 3 minutes of this game left, and at this point, you know, his remaining 2 battleship allies having decided to come with him, there's a comfortable firepower advantage here as well. So even if he'd been alone, I think, you know, it would have worked out, because that Königsberg was low health, and the Budioni he could probably comfortably take. And his allies together probably could have tackled the enemy VA, and, you know, that would have worked as well. But this is still going to work. They just have enough of a points advantage that they don't really have to worry here. So there we go. That just pushes him nicely over the 150k mark. In fact, that's straight up to 160,000. He's got that was 6 kills. He's also got high caliber. He's got, what, 2 close quarters experts and a Confederate. And all that's left immediately in front of them is this Pensacola, who is probably in the process of writing his last will and testament at this stage. There is absolutely no way he has a hope in hell of taking down Isolate, especially not backed up by 2 battleships. The HEA that's down in the south, well, they're not going to get a chance to take him out, because they're just so far ahead in points at this stage that they just have to kill his Pensacola, and they've won. So, a couple of overpens, but that's fine. He's still got the back turret to bring to bear, and that gets him his 7th and final kill. So that was 166,000 damage done. And this was quite a long game. This nearly went down. You know, this was down to the last minute. I think for ships like this, well, this ship and the Miyogi as well, longer games help. You have to have a longer game in order to rack up this quite decent amount of damage. And like I said, there was that kind of interesting bit where they could have gone. You know, they had one of 2 real options, and they were both valid, but it was fine in the end anyway, just because they had such an advantage in points. So a nice profit out of that, as you can see. Decent XP. Yeah, that was quite a nice game all round, and I think the only thing left for me to say at this point is, you know, go check out Isolate's Twitch channel if you're wanting to watch somebody play Warships. I mean, there's a couple of the guys I've played with a bunch of them. You know, there's Flamu, and there's Isolate, and there's Chris Antos, but also, of course, there's me, because I stream Warships as well. I'm not going to miss an opportunity to pimp my own stream here. I may have less pixels than those other people, but clearly my pixels are better, because of course they are, because they're my pixels. They're genuine, handcrafted, pigeon-delivered Scottish pixels, and you don't get better pixels than that. So hopefully you've enjoyed this bit of Tier 7 German battleship action, and if you have, you can hit that like button, you can leave any comments below, you can sub to my channel if you haven't already, and as always, stay tuned for more.